Brothers Zach and Gray are preparing to take a vacation trip. They will spend the next week with their aunt, Claire, on an exciting journey through the dinosaur park. Their parents accompany them to the airport and Karen asks Zach to look after his younger brother during the trip. Before reaching their final destination, the youngsters board a ferry that will take them, along with the other tourists, to Isla Nublar, which is home to many different kinds of dinosaurs. When they land on the island, Zara, Claire's assistant, is there to greet them. When they arrive at the hotel room, the woman hands them the VIP access that the boys' aunt had arranged for them. In this way, they could visit the entire park without waiting in line. Meanwhile, Claire had to deal with the bureaucracies of the place. The woman explains to the patrons that, as the years go by, visitors are no longer content with the dinosaurs that already exist. More and more, the demand for larger and scarier species is increasing. Therefore, their scientists have succeeded in developing a genetically modified hybrid, which they have named Indominus Rex. As an adult, the animal will reach 15 meters in length, which means that it will be much larger than the T-Rex itself. After the meeting with the sponsors, Claire meets her nephews at the Innovation Center. This is the first time they have seen each other in 7 years. In this room, there are several life-size holograms of dinosaurs and buried bones for children to play with in paleontology. The woman informs the boys that Zara will take care of them that day, and in the evening, when she gets off work, they would have dinner together. Gray is disappointed. After all, he went there to spend a week's vacation with his aunt. Seeing the disappointment in the boys' eyes, Claire promises that the next day she will spend more time with them. They say goodbye and the woman walks to the control room, through which the dinosaurs and visitors were monitored all the time. She then goes to meet Simon Masrani, the owner of that park. They fly by helicopter to Paddock 11, where Indominus Rex's quarters are, so that the man can meet the new dinosaur. During the tour, it becomes clear that Claire considers those creatures just items in her exhibit, without taking into consideration that they are living beings. On the other hand, Simon reminds us that Jurassic World exists to remind humans how small we are in the face of the greatness of other animals, and thus to encourage humility in people. In the containment room, Claire tells her that Indominus Rex is more intelligent than any other dinosaur. Within a few days, she started guessing where her food would come from and almost ripped off an employee's arm. Simon notices some cracks in the wall and Claire reveals that the animal tried to break the glass. And shortly after, the creature appears. Simon is dazzled to see that menacing monster. The woman tells him that there was also a brother in case she did not survive childhood. However, she devoured him. The man informs them that Owen Grady, a former member of the US Navy, is on the island and asks Claire to take him to that place to inspect the paddock to ensure that there are no security breaches there. On the other side of the island, Owen trains his raptors. Blue begins chasing a pig until the man orders her to stop. Incredibly, the animal obeys his orders, and soon after, the other dinosaurs appear. They follow Owen to a platform where they are given rats as a treat to reward them for good behavior. At the end of the training, Vic Hoskins shows up and suggests that Owen release those animals for a field test. Vic intends to use dinosaurs as weapons to fight wars. To do this, he needs Owen's help to lead them. Owen claims that this is a bad idea, because his raptors are wild animals, but Vic does not give up his idea easily. As he argues with Owen and tries to convince him to adhere to his idea, the pig breaks free from its cage and runs across the field. One of the employees tries to rescue him, but is knocked down by Blue. Now he is about to be devoured by those creatures, but Owen steps in to save him. He tries to calm the raptors down while the boy goes to safety. Owen asks Barry to close the gate and runs outside as the railing is coming down. Luckily, his training went well and no one was hurt. Before leaving, Owen advises the newcomer never to turn his back on the cage. On the other side of the park, Gray was having fun watching the other children play with the Triceratops. On the other hand, Zach was bored with that walk and decides to escape Zara's supervision while she was distracted. The boy and his younger brother rush to watch the T-Rex show and Gray is terrified to see the dinosaur devouring the goat. Meanwhile, Claire heads to Owen's quarters. The woman asks him to accompany her to learn about a new species of dinosaur created in her lab. The man asks why they need his help and Claire says that he is the only one who can help improve Indominus Rex's temperament before she is introduced for exposure, since he is able to control the raptors. Upon hearing this, Owen becomes angry and states that he does not control those dinosaurs. He clarifies that he has a relationship with them based on mutual respect. Owen takes advantage of the situation to pick on the scientist, saying that, for her, everything is a matter of control, which is why they have never had a second date. Claire gets angry and claims that she never wanted to have a second date with him. After a quick discussion, the woman says she will wait for Owen in the car. Before he goes, she advises him to change the shirt he is wearing, because Indominus Rex is very sensitive to smell. The two brothers continue their adventure exploring that island. Now they are sitting on the bleachers to meet the Mosasaurus, an aquatic reptile larger than any other sea creature. To lure the animal out of the water, the employees use a white shark as bait. A few seconds later, the monster appears and devours the shark, as if it were just a snack. The audience goes wild, and after the show, the stands begin to come down. At that moment, the visitors can see the Mosasaurus inside its tank. Back in Paddock 11, Claire directs an employee to serve food to Indominus Rex. This way, the dinosaur would appear and Owen could meet him. When he observes the methodology they used with the animal, Owen is startled. According to him, animals raised in isolation usually have a very bad temperament. Although their raptors were born in captivity, they grew up together, like brothers. This teaches them how to live in society. Moreover, Owen has lived with them since the moment they were born. In this way, he has managed to gain their trust. In the case of Indominus Rex, the only positive relationship the animal has is with the mechanical arm that feeds it. While they were talking, something strange happens. Even though they are serving food, the creature does not appear. Claire tries to detect the thermal signals to locate the dinosaur, but the camera cannot find it. Owen notices claw marks on the wall and everyone believes that the animal has escaped. Claire tells them that the Indominus Rex has an implant in its back and goes to the control room to track it. On the way, the woman calls Lowry and asks the man to give her the coordinates of the Indominus Rex. Meanwhile, Owen, along with 2 other park employees, enters the paddock to check the claw marks on the wall. They are surprised that the animal has climbed a 12-meter high wall. However, upon checking the system, Lowry states that the dinosaur is still in the cage. While talking to Claire, he tells her that some people have entered the cell and orders his team to get them out. Vivian immediately tries to contact the Paddock 11 team and orders them to clear the containment area. They try to run, but Indominus Rex prevents them from leaving. The animal begins to chase them and devours its first victim. The second employee opens the gate and manages to escape. Then the control team closes the gate, even though Owen is inside. They must stop the Indominus from getting out at all costs. Just as the cage was about to be completely locked, Owen manages to slip through the gap and escape from the monster. However, the creature manages to open the gate and is now free. Owen hides under a car while the security guard tries to take cover behind another vehicle. But the dinosaur can identify him by his smell and, after destroying the truck, devours him. Seeing this, Owen cuts the fuel hose and pours gasoline on his own body to camouflage its smell. Fortunately, his plan works. The animal cannot detect him and leaves. Sometime later, Claire arrives at the control room and sends a containment unit to capture that monster. Barry receives an alert and is warned about the item that has escaped containment. Vic is with him and sees an opportunity to put the raptors to the test. While some visitors take a kayak tour of the canal alongside the dinosaurs, the special soldiers go after Indominus to try to contain him. Owen arrives angrily at the control room and informs them that the dinosaur marked that wall to trick them. His plan was to make the humans believe that he had escaped. Claire tries to calm him down by saying that this was just an animal. However, it is a highly intelligent animal that presents great danger to the people on that island. Through the cameras, Owen realizes that the soldiers have gone after that monster without lethal weapons, and Simon states that they cannot kill it because they have invested $26 million in that item. Owen asks them to call off the mission, because without powerful weapons, those men will die. However, his request is ignored and the mission continues. One of the men finds a piece of meat containing the tracking implant. Indominus remembered where the device was placed and managed to pull it out. The creature was camouflaged among the trees, just waiting for the right moment to devour its prey. The soldiers attack it with their stun guns, but this only serves to make it even more furious. During the attack, they are being killed one by one while the whole team follows the tragedy live from inside the control room. The employees watch their colleagues being exterminated without being able to do anything at all to help them. Seeing that carnage, Owen asks them to empty the island. Indominus Rex is a killing machine created in a laboratory. The man claims that it will attack absolutely anything that moves. Claire resists the idea, because if she does this, the park can never reopen. Owen keeps insisting that the only way to stop that thing is to kill it, but gets no support. So he decides to leave and let them deal with that creature on their own. Claire decides to close the entire north wing of the resort and remove all visitors from there. Simon goes to the research lab, where the hybrid dinosaurs were created, and orders Henry, the head researcher, to shut down all activities in that lab. He was responsible for creating Indominus Rex and claims that he did this at Simon's request. The man wanted bigger and scarier animals, but it is impossible to create threatening beasts without corresponding behavioral traits. Claire's nephews were taking advantage of the freedom of not having Zara around to venture into more dangerous rides. This time, they decide to take a ride in the gyrosphere, a vehicle so sturdy that it is able to withstand a .50 caliber shot and remain intact. Suddenly, the man who coordinated that ride receives a call, with orders to close it and empty the place. While contemplating the beautiful animals, protected inside the gyrosphere, the youngsters receive an alert that told them to disembark from the sphere and return to the park. Zach convinces Gray to stay a few more minutes and they both decide to enjoy the ride a little longer. Claire calls Zara and asks her to take the boys back to the hotel immediately. However, the woman informs her that they have disappeared. Just then, the scientist calls Zach and asks him and his brother to go back to the hotel. The boy tells her that he is inside a gyrosphere and, due to interference in the network, cannot hear what his aunt is saying. The connection drops and Claire asks Lowry to see if there are any gyrospheres in use in the valley. The man is able to identify the vehicle and the woman asks Vivian to send a team to pick them up. The problem is that the security guards were too busy trying to capture the menace that was loose in the park and it would take them a while to get the youngsters back. So Claire decides to go after them herself. Before she leaves, she goes after Owen and asks for the man's help in locating her nephews. Zach spots an open gate with a sign indicating a restricted area. Apparently the place has been broken into, but still the boy decides to go in there with his brother. Gray disagrees with the idea. The boy tries to get Zach to follow the directions they have received and return with him to the resort, but nothing works. Just ahead, they encounter 4 Ankylosaurus. Then the Indominus Rex appears behind them and begins to attack the other dinosaurs. While running toward its prey, the animal kicks the sphere and pushes the vehicle away. Zach tries to escape, but his vehicle is thrown by one of the Ankylosaurus while he was trying to defend himself from his predator. Indominus is unable to bite the animal's back, due to its extremely thick shell, so he decides to turn it face up and devour its head. Even though they are terrified, the brothers believe they are safe inside the vehicle. Claire calls Zach, but the boy is upside down inside the sphere and is unable to answer her. The creature approaches the vehicle and within moments causes a crack in the glass. It tries to devour the sphere, but its mouth is not yet big enough to do so. As a result, the monster begins to crash the vehicle into the ground in an attempt to break it. Meanwhile, Zach takes off his seatbelt and that of his brother, and they both run to the top of a waterfall. Since they are trapped, their only option is to jump into the water. Encouraged by his older brother, Gray manages to do this and the pair escapes from the creature. They swim to shore and Zach feels proud of his younger brother's courage. On the way to the valley, the couple finds dozens of dead dinosaurs. Among them, an Apatosaurus that had been severely injured and was between life and death. Owen tries to calm him down in those last minutes of his life and Claire is moved by the scene. For the first time, the woman has such close contact with one of those animals and realizes that they also suffer, just like any other living being. When he realizes that Indominus has not devoured his prey, the man comes to the conclusion that this beast is killing just for fun, unlike any other dinosaur. A few miles later, they find the vehicle the boys were in. Claire finds Zach's cell phone destroyed and becomes desperate, but Owen notices the footprints in the mud and informs them that they jumped out, so they could still be alive. The couple then prepares to go after them. While trying to escape from that forest, Gray finds the hat of an employee who was certainly no longer alive. Soon after, Zach spots a crashed vehicle and realizes that he has arrived at the ruins of the old Jurassic Park. They enter that place and find the abandoned exploration jeeps. The boy fixes one of the vehicles and they get a ride out of that place. In the control room, Simon is able to track the hybrid and discovers that the animal is moving further and further south, where the visitors have been grouped. Just then, Vic Hoskins shows up and tells him that he has studied the raptors for 2 years. He then claims that his animals can track and hunt the monster. However, the billionaire states that he will not allow any raptor to be released on that island. Instead, he decides to fly a helicopter and take some properly armed agents to eliminate that creature. A few minutes later, the couple arrives at the ruins of the old park and Owen finds the shirt of one of the boys lying on the ground. The man intends to start the second car to go after them, but is surprised by the arrival of Indominus. The monster approaches the vehicle, but soon retreats. Just when they think they are safe, the creature appears again and knocks the roof off the shelter. The couple runs away and soon afterwards the helicopter appears. Vivian states that she has spotted the target south of the aviary and gives permission for the air team to attack. Simon lowers the helicopter so that one of the soldiers can machine gun the creature. However, this only serves to make matters worse. To protect itself from gunfire, the animal breaks through the aviary's barriers and releases hundreds of pterosaurs. The animals are startled by Indominus' presence and flee in desperation, crashing into the helicopter and causing the vehicle to crash into the barrier. When it hits the ground, the helicopter explodes, killing everyone inside. The couple runs into the forest in an attempt to protect themselves from those flying animals. By now, the youngsters have crossed the gate and are about to arrive at the park. Gray notices the presence of the pterosaurs and asks his brother to speed up. Zara calls Claire and informs her that she found the boys through the security cameras. They were near the west gate. Claire asks her to stay there and promises that she will arrive as soon as possible. Owen asks the scientist to get on his motorcycle and together they head for the park. Soon, the pterosaurs arrive at the place where the visitors have been grouped and a great massacre takes place. These formerly isolated creatures have their first direct contact with humans and make them their prey. They attack anything that comes their way, even other dinosaurs. Amidst the chaos, Owen and Claire appear. In the meantime, Zara finds the boys and tries to get them to safety. However, the woman ends up being captured and thrown into the tank. The pterosaurs go after her and one of them manages to grab her. However, both the woman and the creature meet an unexpected end, being devoured alive by the mosasaurus. While the soldiers are shooting at those monsters, Claire starts screaming for her nephews. Suddenly, the boys appear and are being chased by one of those things. Just as it was about to reach the boys, the animal is shot and eliminated. Meanwhile, Owen is also being attacked and must fight the creature to survive. Claire decides to help him and uses a gun to kill the animal. Relieved and grateful, Owen gives his friend a kiss while the nephews watch everything from a distance. When she sees the boys, she runs toward them and pulls them away from that place. Vic calls his men and invades the control room. He takes advantage of the fact that Simon is no longer alive to take control of the operation. His first act is to dismiss the entire original team and put a new group in charge of that mission. At that moment, Lowry calls Claire and informs the woman about what Vic is doing. Upon learning that the man intended to use the raptors in the mission, Owen is infuriated. They get into a car and go directly to the raptors' quarters. It was already night, and Vic was there. The first thing Owen does when he sees that guy is to punch him and order him to get out of there. The man claims that this operation will happen, with or without Owen's help. Then, to try to mitigate the possible damage, Owen decides to accompany the mission, since he is the only one the raptors trust. The plan is to allow these dinosaurs to sniff out the target and then surround it, as they prefer to attack in groups. At this point, the soldiers will shoot the Indominus, but Owen asks that under no circumstances do they hit the raptors. While the hunt is on, Claire asks her nephews to get in the back of the truck while she is at the wheel, just in case they need to escape from there. Owen allows the raptors to smell a piece of meat with the tracker that Indominus Rex had ripped off, and then sets them free. The man and some soldiers go after them and, through the cameras they have strapped on their heads, are able to follow everything those animals are seeing. The raptors stop when they reach a certain location and Owen informs the team that they have found something. The soldiers prepare for the attack and Indominus appears. His raptors begin to communicate with the creature and Owen realizes that something is wrong. The man says he knows why they don't want to reveal what kind of DNA that monster has. According to him, the animal is half raptor. Vic orders his soldiers to shoot and Indominus Rex is hit. Still, the animal gets up and manages to escape. Now they will have to deal with the raptors, as they have become their new targets. Owen finds one of them and tries to communicate, but another soldier sends a bomb and blows up the animal. Realizing that the plan has gone wrong, Vic's men flee, leaving Owen and his partner behind. Barry hides inside a tree trunk, but is soon found. The animal tries to pull him out, but Owen uses his motorcycle to get its attention and the dinosaur begins to chase him. Claire follows everything on camera and tries to calm her nephew. Suddenly, a bloodied soldier appears in the truck window and the woman screams desperately. The man asks her to run away and tries to get into the back of the vehicle, but is eventually caught. While the woman is driving, another dinosaur appears and breaks through the truck window. However, Claire manages to knock it out. The creatures do not give up and continue chasing the vehicle. Claire manages to run over one of them, but Blue is still after them. Gray finds some stun guns and, with Zach's help, manages to electrocute the animal and thus buy time to escape. Soon after, Owen appears on his motorcycle and asks Claire to follow him. In the control room, all employees are asked to leave for their own safety. Vivian informs Lowry that there is a boat waiting for them, but the man states that he will remain there until all the people on the island are safe. A few minutes later, Owen, Claire and the boys arrive at the Innovation Center and enter to find shelter. When they arrive at the lab, they find Vic. The man and his team were storing the leftover embryos and intended to take them away for further testing. Claire asks about Henry's whereabouts and Vic reveals that the doctor works for his team. They intended to use the Indominus Rex genes to create living weapons that would act on the country's military base. Just then, one of the raptors appears and devours Vic. Owen and his team take the opportunity to flee, but are soon overtaken. Gray turns on one of the dinosaur holograms to distract the creature and gain a few more minutes to escape. When they finally manage to get out of that room, two other raptors are waiting outside. Owen tries to communicate with Blue and make her remember the relationship they have built. This is his last hope to get out of that place alive. At this point, Indominus Rex appears and strikes up a conversation with his new friends. However, Blue decides to stay by Owen's side and ends up being attacked while trying to protect him. The other raptors unite and set out to attack the dinosaur. Owen also joins in the attack and shoots the creature. Claire has a plan to help them and asks her nephews to wait until she returns. The monster manages to get rid of the raptors and goes back to hunting Owen. The man hides with the boys, but the animal manages to track them down. Meanwhile, Claire contacts Lowry and asks him to open Paddock 9. He tries to resist the idea, but eventually gives in to his friend's request. As the gate opens, Claire uses a flare to draw the attention of the creature inside. Suddenly, T-Rex approaches and starts running after her. The woman throws the flare towards Indominus and T-Rex attacks him. The dinosaurs get into a brutal fight, but T-Rex is at a disadvantage. He is about to lose the fight, however. Blue shows up to help him. The two then team up to eliminate a common target. Meanwhile, Claire and the others try to survive amidst this battle of titans. Blue and T-Rex corner Indominus near the pond. Within moments, Mosasaurus appears and grabs the creature by the neck, dragging it into the water. Despite being a highly powerful hybrid, against the Mosasaurus, the animal doesn't stand a chance. At the end of the battle, T-Rex decides to leave Blue and the humans alone. Before leaving, the raptor says goodbye to Owen. The next morning, already off the island, while they were receiving medical care along with the other wounded, the boys' parents show up. They hug and Karen is extremely happy to see her sister. Claire decides to leave her nephews with their parents and goes to talk to Owen. After all the trouble they went through together, the couple leaves with the promise that they will survive anything. On Isla Nublar, T-Rex is still on the loose. Will he now become the king of that island, or will the humans be able to take back control of the place? After the catastrophe that happened on Isla Nublar, some scientists return to the site with the mission to collect a DNA sample from Indominus Rex, which was dragged into the Mosasaurus tank. In a submarine, two men go in search of the remains of the genetically modified dinosaur. They can identify the skeleton and pull out a piece of the bone. They then send the sample to the surface. However, before they can leave the tank, the Mosasaurus, which everyone believed to be dead after spending some time without feeding, devours them. The technician who was running the operation tries to communicate with the pair, but is soon surprised by the presence of T-Rex, who begins to chase him. Upon seeing that gigantic beast, the team that was in the helicopter tries to escape and launches a ladder to try to save their partner. However, just as the man finally manages to get a hold, the dinosaur latches onto the ladder and begins to pull the helicopter down. With no other alternative, one of the team members starts to cut the rope, but the ladder breaks and they manage to escape. While flying over the tank, when everyone believed they were safe, Mosasaurus emerges from the depths and devours his prey in mid-flight. In the news, all the talk was about the dormant volcano on Isla Nublar, which in recent months has been reclassified as active. The prediction was that a great catastrophe would happen in a few days and would kill the last living dinosaurs on the planet. Now the question is, do dinosaurs deserve the same protections given to other endangered species, or should humanity just let them die? The groups were divided, some believing that the volcano would fix the course of natural history, as the dinosaurs should have been extinct millions of years ago. Others argue that these animals' lives are as valuable as anyone else's, so they should be rescued. Claire and other members of the Dinosaur Protection Group are part of this second movement and are willing to do whatever it takes to save these creatures. Through an official statement broadcast on TV, they find out that the American government, after several deliberations, has decided not to take any action to rescue the dinosaurs from Isla Nublar. Seconds later, Claire receives a call from the secretary of Benjamin Lockwood, a millionaire who was interested in saving those animals and requested the woman's help in doing so. The next day, Claire heads to Benjamin's mansion and, upon arriving there, is met by Eli Mills, the man responsible for administering Mr. Lockwood's foundation. The man asks her to accompany him to a room that was filled with dinosaur bones and tells her that even before the island existed, Benjamin Lockwood and John Hammond, the CEO and creator of Jurassic Park, built a laboratory in the basement of that mansion, from where they extracted the first fossil DNA. Eli says that Benjamin owns a small plot of land, which is designed to be the self-sustaining, natural barrier-protected sanctuary to house the dinosaurs. Just then, Mr. Lockwood appears and states that Hammond's dream was to allow these creatures to live free and in peace, without fences and cages to imprison them. This is why they created the sanctuary. Finally, he states that Eli will help her with her mission to save those animals, and Ares takes him back to his room, as his health is very fragile. Eli's plan was to hire some men to accompany Claire to the park, where there was a tracking system for every dinosaur on that island. If they could access this system, they would be able to safely locate and capture these animals. The cargo bay allows them to save more than 11 species, among them Blue, who is potentially the second most intelligent living being on the planet and the last of her kind. However, in order to capture her, they would need the help of Owen, the only man able to communicate with her. As a result, Claire takes a long trip to meet up again with her former love affair. They go out for a beer and talk about why their relationship didn't work out. But despite their differences, they are still in love with each other. As they talk, Owen reveals that he knows the reason for Claire's visit, because Eli has contacted him. However, the dinosaur tamer is not willing to risk his life again to save those creatures, even though he knows Blue is alive. Upon hearing this, Claire is angered by Owen's cowardice and leaves. That night, he watches some videos from the time when Blue and her siblings were still babies and remembers the strong connection he had with her. The next morning, Claire and her team arrive at the plane to embark on the mission, and the woman is surprised to realize that Owen is there. Apparently, he could not stand his tough guy stance and decided to risk his skin to save an old friend. Before taking off, the woman introduces her co-workers, Zia and Franklin. Both were members of the Dinosaur Protection Group and were there to help with the mission. When they arrive on the island, the group is met by Ken Wheatley, the organizer of the expedition. They quickly set off on their first mission. On the way, they hear a noise and Zia decides to get out of the vehicle to see what it is. At this time, the girl spots a Brachiosaurus walking right in front of her. Everyone is enchanted by the beauty of the animal and Zia is thrilled, because she never thought she would be able to see one of those animals so close up. After this episode, the team continues their journey and soon arrive at the control room so that Claire can help locate the dinosaurs. Within minutes, they find Blue. Zia decides to accompany Owen and the rest of the rescue party. As they approach their target, Owen orders the men to wait for his signal before firing the sedative. He goes to meet Blue, who immediately threatens to attack him. However, Owen manages to calm her down and soon they understand each other. When the dinosaur begins to act friendly, Ken throws the first sedative and surrounds the animal. Feeling threatened, Blue attacks a man, who shoots her in the stomach. At this point, Owen awakens his fury and goes after Ken, but the old man retaliates by hitting him in the chest with a sedative. Zia rushes to help him, but realizes that she will be the next to be eliminated. To try to survive, she says that Blue will die if she does not receive medical attention because she is losing too much blood. Now that they have captured their prey, the men leave and take Zia along with them, leaving Owen behind. While Claire and Franklin are in the control room, the volcano begins to erupt. At this point, the soldiers lock them both inside the room and they must find a way to escape before they are engulfed by lava. While Owen lies motionless on the floor, still under the effect of the sedative, a Sinoceratops approaches him and licks his face. However, the animal does not stay for long, as the lava is getting closer. Helpless, Owen tries to avoid being engulfed by the lava and forces his body out of the place until the tranquilizer wears off and he can get up. Meanwhile, Franklin and Claire continue trying to unlock the doors to the room. However, just as they manage to free themselves, a dinosaur appears and traps them. Now they can no longer get out through the main door and must hurry to escape, because the lava has already invaded the room. So Claire decides to use the emergency exit. While trying to unlock the door, the animal catches up with them and almost devours Franklin's leg. But before the worst could happen, the door opens and they manage to escape unharmed. Amidst the volcanic ash, they find Owen running towards them, and behind him hundreds of animals are running, trying to escape the eruption. To avoid being run over by the dinosaurs, they hide behind a gyrosphere and manage to get into the vehicle. The problem is that there is only room for 2 people and Owen ends up on the outside. Then 2 dinosaurs start to fight, and suddenly T-Rex appears to break up the fight. With each minute, the eruption increases and they need to get away from the volcano. Claire and Franklin use the gyrosphere to escape and Owen runs after them. When they reach the end of the island, they end up falling off the cliff and sink into the ocean. At that moment, the water starts to enter the gyrosphere and the duo is trapped inside. Just as they were about to lose hope, Owen shows up and uses a knife to unstick the glass and free his friends. When they arrive at the beach, the man informs them that it was all a setup and Eli never really wanted to save those animals. While looking for a way to escape alive from that island, Hay spots some helicopters carrying dinosaurs to the boat that would very soon leave that island. As the animals are being transported, Ken takes advantage of the fact that they are sedated and uses pliers to pull out a tooth to keep for his collection. The lava is getting closer and closer and all the expedition team members get on the boat to leave. At this point, the trio sees an opportunity to escape with their lives. They get into an abandoned truck and use the vehicle to reach the boat. When they look back, they can see the island being destroyed and the animals annihilated. As they were surrounded by the ocean, they had nowhere to run and ended up being engulfed by lava. At the mansion, Eli is visited by Gunnar Eversole, the man responsible for organizing the auction where he intended to sell the dinosaurs Ken captured on Isla Nublar. What he didn't expect was that Maisie was in hiding and overheard the entire conversation. Next, Eli takes Gunnar to his research lab and reveals that he has hired the best geneticists to create a new biological weapon from the Indominus Rex's DNA. But thanks to Owen Grady's research, this new genetically modified species, called Indoraptor, is able to follow human orders, making it a perfect weapon for killing. After hearing what Eli had said, Maisie goes to her grandfather's room to tell him what she has discovered. Upon hearing the girl, Benjamin is reluctant to believe that Eli intends to sell the dinosaurs and asks his granddaughter to go to bed. On the boat, Owen and his friends find Zia. The girl was trying to treat Blue, but alone she is unable to contain the bleeding caused by the bullet. To perform the surgery, the girl needs the blood of another animal to transfuse. So Claire and Owen set out to find another carnivore who might have compatible blood. To the couple's misfortune, the only animal on board that fit the standard Zia set is the T-Rex. The animal is sedated, but could wake up at any moment. When Claire sticks the needle into its skin, the animal begins to relent. After filling the blood bag, the woman manages to get through the cage ceiling and runs to open the door before her partner is crushed. The mission was a success. Now they need to return with the blood so that Zia can start the surgery. A few minutes later, she manages to remove the bullet and stop the bleeding. Blue is now no longer at risk. Meanwhile, after being ignored by her grandfather, Maisie decides to break into the lab to do her own investigations. She finds a video of Owen training the baby dinosaurs and is impressed. Suddenly, Eli and Dr. Henry Wu show up and are discussing what happened to Blue. According to the geneticist, her DNA is the key to making Indoraptor have traits such as empathy, loyalty, and obedience. The current Indoraptor prototype has none of these features, so it is completely unstable and unreliable. While walking through the laboratory, Maisie tries to hide until she gets close to a cage that was hidden in that place. As the girl approaches, the animal inside stretches out its claws to attack her. However, she manages to realize the threat in time and begins to scream. At this time, the girl is found by Eli, who takes her to her room and locks her inside. He then orders Ares to keep the door locked and the woman informs him that Benjamin wishes to speak with him. When he arrives at Mr. Lockwood's room, the old man curses him for what he is doing and orders him to pick up the phone and speak, personally, to the police. But instead, Eli takes the pillow and uses it to smother Benjamin. When they arrive in dry land, the couple must take a truck to try to get out of there without being discovered. They follow the other vehicles to find out where those men are taking the dinosaurs and soon discover that the final destination is Mr. Lockwood's mansion. Once there, the agents unload the animals into new cages. As they are about to arrive at the mansion, the couple finds a road that would take them to the nearest town and plan to go there to get help, but Ken shows up and manages to stop them. The man takes them to a cage, and then Eli appears. He says that he wants to apologize for involving Claire and Owen in that situation, but it was the only way he could capture Blue. Clearly, the couple refuses to support that insanity and Eli intends to put an end to them. If anyone asks, the man would say that they burned to death on the island. The auction is about to begin, and from the balcony Maisie sees the dozens of guests arriving at the mansion. The girl manages to get out the window and goes to her grandfather's room to warn him about what is happening. When she gets there, she discovers that the man is dead. Eli shows up soon after and, after taking the book from her grandfather, the girl hides in the food elevator. From there, the girl hears Eli calling Ares. He informs her of Mr. Lockwood's death and asks her to find another job. However, Ares does not want to abandon Maisie. She has cared for the girl and her mother since they were babies and wishes to continue doing this work. However, Eli states that Maisie is now under his guardianship and fires Ares. While listening to the conversation, the young girl opens her grandfather's book and finds a picture of her mother next to Ares. In that instant, she realizes that she is an identical copy of her mother and this leaves her stunned. In the cage, Claire observes a triceratops in the next cage, along with her baby, and remembers the first time she saw a dinosaur. She gets emotional and tells how it felt like she was facing a miracle. The woman blames herself for what happened and Owen tries to console her. He assures her that they will both get out of that cage alive and do something to stop Eli. The man realizes that in the cell next door is a Stygimoloch. The animal is not very intelligent, but has an extremely hard skull. The idea is to lure the dinosaur into giving it a few headbutts on the wall and breaking it. Then he gets the animal to attack him, and in this way he can open the cage door. In the main hall, the auction takes place. The first dinosaur to be auctioned is an Ankylosaurus, which sells for $10 million. Within minutes of the auction, Eli has already made $130 million. Still underground, the couple meets Maisie. The girl is very frightened, but decides to give those two a chance. In tears, she tells them that her grandfather is dead, and Owen asks if she wants to run away with them. The trio walks to the salon, where Gunnar presents the newest lab-grown dinosaur. The man says that Indoraptor is the weapon best adapted for the modern age. To demonstrate this, he shows the mechanism by which the animal chooses its victims. Simply establish the target with the laser, then activate an acoustic signal and Indoraptor will destroy its prey. Upon seeing the animal's performance, one of the buyers makes the first bid of 30 million and that figure starts to rise. The deal was that Indoraptor would not be sold that night, as this specimen was still a prototype. However, when Eli realizes that he could make a lot of money with that one dinosaur, he decides to sell it. In order to cause real chaos at that event, Owen has the idea of using the elevator to take Stygimoloch to the hall. The animal serves as a distraction so that he can get rid of the guards. As Ken sees the guests running away, he enters the mansion in search of Eli to receive his payment for his service. At this time, he comes across Indoraptor and decides to throw some tranquilizers on him. When the animal passes out, Ken enters the cage to get one of its teeth. However, the dinosaur was not sedated. The truth is that he was pretending to have been knocked over to distract the man. By the time Ken realizes what he has done, it is too late. The Indoraptor grabs his arm and rips it off in a single bite. It then devours the rest of the man's body. Upon witnessing the attack, Gunnar runs to the elevator and the dinosaur runs after him. However, before the monster can reach them, the doors close and Gunnar breathes a sigh of relief. What no one expected was that the Indoraptor would manage to destroy the system. As it does so, the doors open again and the beast devours everyone inside. Meanwhile, the couple tries to escape with Maisie, but is stopped by Eli and his guards. Seeing that the girl does not want to remain under his guardianship, the man reveals that Benjamin never had a granddaughter. Maisie is nothing more than a genetic clone of his daughter, who had died in a car accident. After saying this, Indoraptor appears and devours the guards, so Claire and Owen take the opportunity to escape with the girl. In the laboratory, Henry orders his employees to take all the research materials and transport them out of the mansion. Before leaving, the man intends to take a blood sample from Blue. While he talks to Zia, Franklin, who until then had been undercover, takes the sedative and uses it to knock the doctor out. The boy manages to loosen the young woman's handcuffs, but some guards appear to stop them from escaping. Then, Zia opens the cage so Blue can attack them. During the fight, one of the security guards accidentally shoots the hydrogen cyanide tanks, causing a large explosion. The toxic gas begins to spread throughout the mansion, and if it reaches the containment area, the dinosaurs would be killed by poisoning. In the fossil room, the trio hides behind the skeleton of a Sinoceratops in an attempt to throw Indoraptor off, but the animal has a powerful nose and manages to spot them. They run to the second floor and are attacked while climbing the stairs. However, Maisie knows all the secret passages in the mansion and the trio manages to hide. The plan doesn't work for long and the animal soon manages to find them. Amidst the rubble, Claire tries to help Maisie escape and ends up having her leg pierced by the dinosaur's claw. When Indoraptor realizes that the girl has escaped, he goes after her. Desperate, the young woman gets into the wooden elevator, goes to her room, and hides under the blanket. Meanwhile, Owen tries to help Claire care for her injury. The woman asks him to go after the girl and assures him that she will be fine. Minutes later, the monster manages to climb onto the roof and walks toward Maisie's room. The creature slowly opens the balcony door and walks over to the bed, where the young girl is lying. Just as he was about to devour it, Owen appears and starts shooting at that monster. However, the bullets don't last long and he is completely defenseless against that thing. Just then, Blue appears and attacks Indoraptor. This allows Owen to buy time to escape with Maisie, but they end up being knocked down while trying to get to the other side of the mansion. In an attempt to escape that predator, they climb up on the glass ceiling of the room where the dinosaur fossils are stored, and the animal goes after them. Indoraptor moves slowly so as not to break the glass, and before he could reach the pair, Claire appears and draws his attention to the opposite side. She uses the laser to mark Owen as the target, and soon after, activates the acoustic signal to make the dinosaur attack him. The man is quick enough to dodge and Indoraptor ends up breaking the glass. Before it falls, however, the animal clings to the metal beams and manages to hang on. This would be the end of the couple if Blue didn't show up to teach that monster a lesson. She jumps on top of Indoraptor and they both fall a few meters. However, the monster has its body pierced by the horns of the Aguhaceratops skeleton that was just below it and ends up dying. Minutes later, Franklin and Zia show up and report that they were unable to contain the hydrogen cyanide dispersion. The toxic gas reached the dinosaur's containment site and within minutes would cause their death. Claire then decides to open the gates of the cages and intends to free those animals. This would make them free in civilization and put the lives of millions of people at risk. So, even though Claire is heartbroken, she decides not to open the main gate, but Maisie cannot accept just watching the dinosaurs die, because, just like her, they were alive and in pain, even though they were made in a laboratory. From now on, these dinosaurs are free and must learn to live with humans and other animals. Seeing these creatures approaching, Eli hides under a vehicle and almost gets crushed. When he thinks he is safe, he comes out of his hiding place, but is surprised by the arrival of T-Rex, which immediately devours him. Owen and his team then leave the mansion and find Blue. At this point, she says goodbye to her friend and leaves, because she refuses to be caged again. Now humans will need to prepare for a new era and must learn to live in a world where they are no longer the top of the food chain. A group of fishermen are on a boat on the high seas when they are suddenly attacked by a mosasaur. The beast emerges from the depths and swallows the ship, causing all the men to fall into the ocean. It's been 4 years since the dormant volcano on Isla Nublar erupted, and humans still haven't found a way to peacefully coexist with the dinosaurs. In order to further study the biology of these animals, Louis Dodgson, the director of the multinational BioSyn Genetics, has set up a sanctuary in the Dolomite Mountains in Italy. However, it is rumored that a human clone was manufactured by scientists working at the company and has been missing since the destruction of Jurassic World. The girl is being sought all over the world and is genetically identical to Charlotte Lockwood, the late daughter of Benjamin Lockwood, co-founder of Jurassic Park. Claire Deering, a former employee of Isla Nublar, is currently working to rescue dinosaurs that are traded on the illegal market. She and her friend arrive at an irregular breeding center and film all the precarious situation to which the animals are subjected. In the warehouse, the pair spots a triceratops isolated from the others, and Zia realizes that the animal is almost dying. So Claire decides to release him, because she knows that even when she makes the report about the existence of that place, the department will take days to release them and the baby won't last that long. So they drag the cage out and enlist Franklin's help to get the little one into the van. Just then, the criminals appear and Claire takes the wheel. The trio is chased by 2 pickup trucks and infiltrates a herd of triceratops to have a better chance of getting out of this alive. Luckily, the dinosaurs do the job of getting rid of the smugglers' vehicles and the van goes on its way. Meanwhile, Owen Grady is in the mountains of Nevada driving a herd of Parasaurolophos to safety. When one of them gets separated from the rest of the herd, Owen uses a rope to lasso the animal and manages to secure it to a tree trunk. Gradually, the man wins his trust and guides him back to join the rest of his group. Because she is being hunted all over the country, Maisie Lockwood lives in hiding in the mountains, but every now and then she goes for a bike ride around town, even though she knows that doing so puts her life at risk. Since the girl's grandfather passed away, Claire has decided to take care of her and tries to keep the girl hidden from the world, as she believes this is the only way to keep her safe. However, Maisie cannot contain her adventurous spirit and dreams of being free. She feels bad knowing she is a clone of someone else, but Claire assures her that the young woman is no less special because of it. Just then, Owen arrives home and is greeted by his peculiar family. After kissing her boyfriend, Claire tells him that Maisie has gone to the city again, and they both realize that they won't be able to keep her in that place forever. A few meters away live Blue and her baby, who is genetically identical to her. The dinosaur intends to teach Beta to hunt, but are interrupted when a wolf appears and devours the poor rabbit. That night, as the small family gathers around a campfire, Rain Delacourt contacts his boss and tells him that she has followed Owen to his house. Besides finding the young clone he was looking for, he also found Blue and her daughter. In Texas, 2 young kids are tending their family's chickens when they spot a giant insect on the wooden fence. Then thousands of locusts appear from the middle of the field and destroy everything in their path. In an attempt to protect themselves, the children run to the barn and hide there until the attack is over. The next day, Ellie Sattler is called to the site to investigate and discovers that the locusts have already attacked more than 60 crops. However, the woman notices that her neighbor's plantation remains intact and discovers that this has happened because they use seeds supplied by BioSyn. Suspicious that it was the industry itself that created those mutant pests to increase the value of its seeds, Ellie travels to Utah to reunite with an old friend. Alan Grant is an experienced digger and is amazed to see such a large grasshopper. The woman then says that if these insects continue to reproduce, thousands of people will starve. Ellie says she suspects that BioSyn is responsible for creating those creatures and asks Alan for help in getting concrete evidence to incriminate the company. Maisie is lighting a fire when she sees Beta for the first time. As she approaches, Blue appears and Owen orders the girl not to move. The man approaches his old friend and she leaves. He then decides to follow her and asks Maisie to go back to the cabin. Furious, the rebellious teenager takes her bicycle and goes for a ride. What she didn't realize was that she was being watched by Rain, who warns the criminals where the young girl is. Meanwhile, some hunters capture Beta and knock Blue off a cliff. Owen hears his friend's desperate cries, but is unable to stop her baby from being taken away. Maisie is crossing a bridge when she is surrounded and captured by criminals. From a distance, Owen sees what has happened and returns to the cabin to warn Claire that the girl has been taken. The man grabs his gun and is ready to go after the demented ones when Blue shows up. The dinosaur is stunned that she has lost her baby, but Owen promises that he will bring her back. In an attempt to find out who captured Maisie, Claire asks her friend for help and Franklin manages to spot the hunter. The boy tells him that some of his coworkers are undercover in that group of criminals and can help them discover Rain's whereabouts. Ellie and Alan travel to the BioSyn sanctuary and are met by Ramsey Cole, the director's right-hand man. The young man takes them to the company's headquarters and they are finally able to meet Lewis. However, the man is very busy and asks Ramsey to take a tour to introduce the place to the guests. The first stop is a room where a lecture is being given by Dr. Ian Malcolm, a talented mathematician specializing in chaos theory. At the end of class, Ian goes to talk to his old friends. While they wait for their coffee to be ready, the mathematician tells them the truth about the locusts and gives Ellie a key to break into basement 6, where the insects are hiding. Meanwhile, Dr. Henry Wu explains to Lewis that the locusts are multiplying at high speed and have become more resilient than ever. The scientist says that they need to eliminate all the insects that have been released into the wild, but Lewis refuses to do this so as not to arouse suspicion against BioSyn. In an attempt to calm Wu down, the man tells him that Maisie and the baby dinosaur have been found. This way, the scientist will be able to use his DNA to reverse the locust's mistake. Kayla Watts is receiving her payment for transporting the baby dinosaur in her aircraft when she spots Maisie. She realizes that the girl was in trouble, but decides not to meddle so as not to risk being punished. By this time, Claire and Owen have arrived in Italy and meet up with Barry, their former coworker. The couple is then taken to an underground fighting ring, where dozens of dinosaurs are forced to duel and do forced labor. As soon as she meets Kayla, Claire realizes that the woman is also American and asks for her help in finding Maisie. However, the pilot says she cannot help her because if she does, her life will be in danger. Soyona Santos is the leader of the smugglers and congratulates her henchmen for managing to capture the girl and dinosaur alive. Now Rain and Wyatt will have to transport a new cargo, a truck full of caged Atrociraptors. These violent dinosaurs are trained to brutally eliminate anyone their leader orders. When the criminals are taking the money, undercover agents show up to arrest them, but Rain and Soyona manage to escape. In order to find out where Maisie has been taken, Owen goes after the demented man while the agents overturn the truck that is being used to transport the dinosaurs. In order to create a distraction for his escape, Rain releases 2 predators from their cage. However, Owen manages to get rid of the creatures and begins a hand-to-hand combat with the enemy. As Rain is knocked down, his arms are swallowed by 2 dinosaurs and he can't get up, so Owen takes the opportunity to get information out of him. The man says that he gave the girl to Soyona and then had no further news about her. Owen decides to go look for the woman and leaves Rain behind to be devoured. Upon being surrounded by the agents, Soyona releases the Atrociraptors and uses a laser beam to mark the targets. Immediately, the men must flee to avoid being devoured, so Claire appears and takes a stun gun used to control the dinosaurs to attack Soyona. During the fight, Claire manages to defeat her and discovers that her daughter has been taken to BioSyn. Just then, an Atrociraptor appears and Soyona lasers the woman. Now Claire becomes the new target and must flee to avoid being devoured. The dinosaur chases her and runs down the stairs of a building at high speed. To survive, she must jump into the building next door and, seeing the redhead in trouble, Kayla decides to help her. When Claire falls into the back of a truck, the pilot gets into the vehicle and drives away. Barry was about to be torn apart when Owen shows up and saves his old friend. They are surrounded by the creature and Barry lures it into the cage. Soon after, Owen locks the door. While Barry announces Soyona's arrest, Owen receives a call from Claire and discovers that Maisie has been taken to BioSyn. The man then runs to find her and Soyona activates the laser in his direction, causing him to be chased by 2 predators. The other monster is behind the truck Kayla is driving, but Claire manages to get rid of it with the aid of a metal bar. While driving through the city streets, Owen sees countless people being devoured by giant dinosaurs, but there is nothing he can do, as he is struggling to survive. The 2 women have already arrived on the plane and Owen appears shortly after. At Claire's request, Kayla opens the rear compartment and the biker manages to get on the plane before it takes off. One of the monsters manages to catch up with him, but when the plane takes off the creature slips out of the compartment and falls into the sea along with Owen's motorcycle. Now the trio is on their way to BioSyn Sanctuary. Meanwhile, Ramsey gives Ellie and Alan 30 minutes to tour the facility before they meet at the hypersonic train station. In his lab, Dr. Wu explains to Maisie why he needs her to finish his research. The man says that Blue has DNA from a monitor lizard, a reptile that can reproduce without any partner. Therefore, Blue and her chick are genetically identical. That is what these animals have in common with Maisie and Charlotte, her late mother. The young scientist loved dinosaurs, and Wu says she was brilliant. Like Blue, Charlotte managed to generate a daughter on her own and raised her with her own DNA. When Maisie was still a baby, her mother started showing symptoms of a genetic disorder, and this is what killed her. However, before she left, Charlotte found a cure and managed to alter her daughter's DNA so that she would not suffer from the same disease. The scientist was able to alter every cell in Maisie's body, and Wu wants to study the girl to find out how this was possible. In this way, the man will be able to alter the DNA of the giant locusts he created. Disguised as employees, Ellie and Alan enter the lab and go after the locusts to get a DNA sample to compare with the genome of the insects that are attacking the crops. In this way, they will be able to prove that BioSyn is a corrupt company that needs to be eliminated by the government. While Dr. Wu is talking to Lewis, Maisie opens the cage where Beta is and releases her. At that moment, she takes the opportunity to flee, and an alarm begins to sound. Because of the noise, the grasshoppers become agitated and attack the pair. When they finally manage to get out of the room, they find the girl and the three of them decide to run away together. Claire and Owen are approaching the sanctuary when Kayla's plane is attacked by a Quetzalcoatlus, a pterosaur that lived at the end of the Cretaceous period. The aircraft is falling and Claire's seat is the only one with a parachute. Therefore, Owen asks her to survive and save Maisie. With no other choice, the woman ejects, and when her parachute opens, other pterosaurs appear to devour her. During the attack, the tarp is destroyed, but luckily the seat has a spare parachute and she is able to descend safely. When they arrive at the train station, Ellie and Alan are surprised to discover that Ramsey was, all this time, trying to help them get the locust DNA and helps the trio escape. Claire is hanging from a tree and trying to free herself from her seatbelt when a therizinosaur approaches. Without noticing the woman's presence, the creature attacks a poor deer with its sharp claws and Claire takes the opportunity to escape. She crawls through the forest and decides to hide in a lake when she notices that she is being chased. When the monster leaves, she continues on her way towards the facility. Even after the plane crash, Owen and Kayla manage to survive and walk under a frozen lake. They must be very careful not to break the ice, but the whole plan goes up in smoke when a predator covered in feathers appears. The creature dives into the lake and swims beneath its prey. Immediately, the duo runs away, but the ice breaks and Owen falls into the water. He was about to be devoured when Kayla pulls him out and a new escape begins. Fortunately, they make it to a bridge and run straight to the elevator. In this way, the duo manages to survive. Through the signal emitted by the ejector seat, they manage to find Claire's landing site, but there is no sign of the woman. Then a Tyrannosaurus appears and takes the opportunity to devour the deer lying dead on the ground. Just then, a Giganotosaurus arrives on the scene and steals the food from the T-Rex, who runs away scared. In his office, Lewis is visited by one of the facility's security guards who shows him a recording of Ellie and Alan stealing a DNA sample from the locusts, and the main suspect of having helped them is Ian. Lewis then shuts down the power that moves the train, and the trio must look for another way out. Meanwhile, the director requests Ian's presence in his office and states that he is fired. With Ramsey's help, Ian steals a vehicle to go save his friends. Alan climbs a ladder looking for a tunnel, but is startled to find a scary dinosaur chasing them. Everywhere they go, the trio spots new predators and runs until they reach a dead end. They try to open the metal gate to escape and Ian arrives to help them. The mathematician tries to figure out the password to unlock the door, but Ramsey manages to help him and unlock the gate remotely. Meanwhile, Claire is in the forest trying to reach the facility without being devoured when a Dilophosaurus approaches. However, before the animal has a chance to attack her, Owen shows up and, with Kayla's help, manages to get rid of it. In order to avoid being framed for creating the giant locusts, Lewis orders his employees to eliminate them all and the incinerator is activated. Upon being attacked, the creatures go into despair and manage to destroy the containment chamber. They then fly off into the forest with their bodies on fire. Ian is driving when he is surprised by the rain of flaming insects and ends up overturning the vehicle. Despite the accident, everyone remains unharmed and is soon found by Owen and Claire, who are extremely relieved to see the girl again. When the Giganotosaurus appears and the group must flee immediately. Ian was the only one to stay behind and hide inside the vehicle. When the whole team is surrounded and has nowhere else to go, the man appears and catches the predator's eye with a grasshopper skewer in his hands. Just as the animal is about to attack him, the mathematician throws the burning insect into its mouth and everyone manages to enter the facility. However, the Giganotosaurus does not give up its dinner and breaks the glass to try to capture them. The animal decides to leave when Claire uses the stun gun on its eye. Now, the group needs to find an aircraft to get safely out of the sanctuary, and Ramsey shows up to help them. Before leaving, Owen goes off in search of Blue's cub in order to fulfill the promise he made to his friend. However, in 10 minutes, he must be back in order to catch the helicopter. Maisie and Alan decide to accompany him to help and distract Beta so that Owen can hit a tranquilizer dart into her neck, as the entire forest is on fire. Lewis is forced to evacuate the facility. He then hitches a ride on the hypersonic train, but the power goes out and he is trapped in the mine. The businessman must get out of the vehicle and walk through the tunnel, but is pursued and devoured by Dilophosaurs. When the group is reassembled, Dr. Wu appears and asks for permission to access Maisie's DNA in order to fix the ecological disaster he has created. The girl then decides to help him, and everyone runs out of the facility, because Kayla is already waiting in the helicopter. However, before they can escape from that place, the group is surprised by the arrival of the sanctuary's 2 top predators, who begin a bloody battle to decide who is dominant. During the brutal duel, the group must run to avoid being hit and witness the victory of Giganotosaurus, who, within minutes, manages to defeat his enemy. Suddenly, Therizinosaurus appears and starts a new battle. T-Rex, who seemed to be dead, at that instant gets up and joins the feathered dinosaur to defeat a common enemy. At the end of the fight, Giganotosaurus ends up being killed with his body pierced by Therizinosaurus claws. The next morning, a news crew arrives on the scene and the former BioSyn employees begin to expose the company's terrible secrets. On this day, Ellie and Alan finally get into a relationship after so many years of being separated by fate. After saving Maisie, the couple can return home in peace with a sense of accomplishment. In the following weeks, Dr. Wu discovered a solution to the ecological crisis he caused and managed to alter the DNA of the locusts. The UN has decreed that the valley where BioSyn's headquarters is located should become a world sanctuary, where animals can live free and protected from the outside world. As soon as he returns home, Owen fulfills his promise to Blue and takes her baby girl back to her. Before leaving, the dinosaur says goodbye to her old friend and Owen returns home with his family. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.